Welcome back to another episode of On a Mission. I'm your host, Dr. Wendy Norfleet with Norfleet Integrated Solutions, and it is my pleasure to have Urrikka Woods-Scott with Shades of Autism Parent Network. Welcome, Urrikka.
Thank you for having me.
So obviously you have some connection with autism. Most people don't work with this type of organization without some backstory.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I have a son who's Roman, who's 4, and he was diagnosed with autism at 3. And when I initially got the diagnosis, I was pretty shocked. I didn't really know, because when I think of autism, for some reason, that the visual of my son did not come to mind. And so I really thought that, okay, I'm sure there's other, African-American, Black parents, parents of color, who may feel the same way too, and may not have noticed those initial signs of potential early indication that my son had autism that could have been diagnosed even earlier or sooner. So when I learned at 3, and that oftentimes, looking at disparities within the Black community, I learned that oftentimes our children are diagnosed later than the majority, oftentimes 18 months or so later. So once I learned that, I began to champion on and said, okay, you know what? This is a diagnosis I wasn't familiar with or knew. I did the research on it, and now I want to make sure my other fellow parents know about all those signs as well.
Okay, that's great. We have someone in our family that we suspect. Do you find that sometimes parents are not ready for that news? Because that's what we're finding.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think oftentimes you hear those, old wives' tales, somewhat it says, boys develop later.
Yes.
He'll talk when he's ready.
Yes.
Because I guess one of the bigger signs is that developmental delays is a
Right.
signal of autism potentially in children. And my son was not talking. He was really pretty much a nonverbal child. He used to kind of grunt and point to things or take my hand to them to get what he needed.
Yes.
And I didn't even recognize that he wasn't calling me mommy. Because I think it was like one of those things that was just like innate of like he's calling for me even though he wasn't saying it.
Right.
So I just knew to go to him. But when they actually started comparing to his peers, that's when I realized, okay, something is not correct or right. So I went to my doctor. And my initial doctor actually tried to calm my fears and say, oh, he'll come when he's ready. Everything else he was on point with in the sense of like his height and weight and other kind of metrics. But I was like, something's not right.
Yes.
And so that's why I went on and said, I'm going to do a second opinion. And I got another doctor. And I would say Dr. YouTube in a way too. Because I started looking at videos. I kind of had a suspicion that could be autism. Because some of those other behaviors of like walking on tippy toes, they would say, or sometimes they have like spin, or they call it stimming. He had some of those kind of behaviors I was recognizing. So I went to someone who knew about it. And thankfully, I'll give a plug for Baptist Health.
Okay.
Their pediatric neurological department.
We're really knowledgeable. And
they officially diagnosed him with autism level 2.
That's a great backstory for starting this organization. So what type of services do the group provide?
Yeah, well, I really want to focus on the parent.
Okay.
Because there's so many great services that do
the
services for children.
Right.
And I'm one of those people that I love kids. I like mine, but I like
you don't necessarily.
I'm an adult parent.
Okay.
and with that, I really want to bring awareness to adults, really, to say, look at these early signs for your children. Because one thing I learned is that early intervention is key. Because once he got diagnosed at 3, he started with ABA therapy. And I have to say, leaps and bound growth in the last 2 years he's been in ABA. He's actually speaking now. He says, mommy, daddy. He's able to tell me what he wants. He's potty trained, which was a really difficult thing to start with. So once I saw that and learned from my ABA therapist and all those therapies that he's receiving, I'm like, if others know, get your child diagnosed early.
Right.
So that by the time they are kindergarten, they truly are, on the education plane, ready to.
And I'm one of those parents that, I can remember when my youngest one was, obviously a lot younger. She's 7 now. But those growth charts, because she was a late bloomer in the sense of height. And so I was always like, oh, we need to see a specialist. I know they grow at their own pace, but she's like way, way down here. And I know that's not, obviously as bad as autism, but it's like one of those things. I'm one of those ones that pay attention to the normal, not necessarily she always has to be in the normal range, but that's just an indicator a lot of times that there's something maybe wrong.
Right. No, and I think every parent does that too. And sometimes they may not know what the milestone chart should be.
Right.
Because we don't want to obsess either, of course, but
Right.
it's good to just be aware.
Right.
And then too, if you do see these signs, just ask the question and find out.
Okay. So what type of services do you provide?
That's right.
I mean, the services, I said provide support, but do you like go into support groups?
Yes.
Or, okay, so more like
so I'll
support.
tell you some more about that. So during the COVID, we actually started in January 2020. And then, of course, COVID happened, right? And so we did all virtual. And so we have done a YouTube, social support groups on there, as well as our Facebook group. So I'll do a plug for, if you look at Shades of Autism on Facebook, you'll see our support groups on there as well. So it has been virtual. We're looking forward to going back to in-person, and that'll kick off in September at the University Library in Arlington.
So what events? So this kind of leads into the events.
Right,
So you have some upcoming. First one is in September.
Yes, we do. And actually, no, we have one actually in July.
Oh, okay.
So we're doing like a parent meetup at Sookie's Chicken and Champagne Bar.
Okay.
With Chef Kenny.
Okay.
There. So we will be there.
That's the one in Springfield.
It is in Springfield.
Yes.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention. So our focus for our group really is in the urban core, East Side, Arlington, even San Marco parent area. Because one thing I was looking for support groups in my area, because I live in Arlington, I didn't really find too many here. There was more so like, say, in St. John's or in the Mandarin, the other side of Jacksonville, I kind of say. So I wanted to start one here on my side of Jacksonville. So that's where we are kind of hubbed at. So we're meeting at Silky's Champagne and Chicken Bar, July 24th at 10:30. Okay. It's like a brunch. Okay. And also then in August, our big one is a picnic day on the beach. And it's going to be at Hannah Park. Catherine Hannah Park, right? Abby?
Yeah, I know where that's at.
I was getting the name confused. But it's on August 21st, and it'll be from 1 to 5.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so this is more like a mix and kind of share and help support each other?
Exactly, yeah. So that event in August is meant to be like a family day at the beach. So we have some great sponsors who are helping support that as well. And giveaways and all those great things for the family.
Oh, that's great.
Please do mark your calendar, come on out.
Okay. So, Urrikka, if someone wanted to get a hold of you or learn more about the organization, where do they go?
Yeah, Shades, APN, so that's for Autism Parent Network.org is the website. On Facebook, of course, you can type in search Shades of Autism Parent Network. What else? Twitter, I think everything. Shades of Autism Parent Network, you'll find us.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing this information. I'm sure there's a lot of parents, and that's one thing I've noticed, that there's a lot of innovation around parents, and I would say probably moms more than dads. No offense, dads.
Right.
But I was talking about that to another mom, and I was saying moms are innovative. When they need something, they either go create it or find it or whatever. And so I really applaud you for doing this. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of On a Mission. To learn more about Urrikka Woods-Scott and Shades of Autism Parent Network, please go to iwantabuzz.com. And we'll see you next time on Buzz TV.